Welcome to the Open Forum. How wonderful it is that again God allows us to look together into the Word of God. It is a great privilege that we can own a Bible. It's a great privilege that we can have been given minds and eyes to see so that we can read the Bible. And this is characteristic of most, but even those who are blind can hear the Bible, or they can, if they can get a copy of a Braille edition, they can read the Bible in that way. But how wonderful it is that God has made this provision, and that the Bible now is available in so many languages. That's one of the great blessings of the church age. They missed on all kinds of things concerning the meaning of the Bible or the understanding of the Bible, but at least they got the message that we are to get the Bible out into the world, and that makes it wonderful today, because as we talk about this verse or that verse in the Bible, all over the world, people can check that out and see and read for themselves what the Bible is saying. But this is your program. We want to hear from you. So shall we take our first call tonight, please? Welcome to Open Forum. Welcome to Open Forum.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead with your call.
I don't know the Bible verse, but it is in, I believe, Romans, when John is talking about the elect, maybe Romans chapter 9. And it talks about the son of perdition. And I was wondering who the son of perdition is.
The son of perdition, that is talked about in 1 Thessalonians. Let me turn to that. 1 Thessalonians chapter, no, 2 Thessalonians rather, chapter, well, let me turn to it.
And in that chapter, it sounds like...
In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, that is the day of judgment, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now, what is your question?
I believe that also that the word son of perdition appears, and I thought it was in Romans.
No, it is not found any other place. We do find that the disciple Judas, who betrayed the Lord Jesus, is called the son of perdition because he was infilled by Satan at the time he betrayed the Lord Jesus.
Can you turn to that verse where it talks about that son of perdition?
Well, I've indicated the one place where it is. I don't know offhand where the other place is, but it's not in Romans.
Because that's the one that I was referring to. Unfortunately, I'm driving. I don't have my Bible, and I was hoping you were able to.
I wish people would be kind enough to do their homework a little bit and look up. If they want to refer to a verse, then find the verse. Now, that takes a little work, but I'll tell you. There's no greater blessing than spending some time in the Bible searching for a verse. Because while you're searching for it, you're also going to learn a lot more from other things that you read as you're searching. And it would enable this program to be a little more effective and efficient, because it's very hard for me to get into a subject without having the verse in front of me. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Oh, how you doing tonight, Mr. Campy?
Very well, thank you.
Two questions. One is, I heard you say a couple of days ago that with Great Tribulation that's going on now, that you said Satan will know the very last May 22nd of 2011. Satan does know? Did I understand you correctly?
Well, you know, if the true believers know what the time of the end is, Satan can hear that. He can know that. But until the true believers knew, and we did not know until just very, very, very recently, Satan did not know. But he's able to hear what we're teaching, and he is trying to overcome that. He's trying to become the winner in all of this. But nevertheless, he hears what we're talking about, and we talk about extensively that May 21 is the day of judgment of next year.
When a true believer gives the gospel to people that are still spiritually dead, how would Satan get that? Does he got the Spirit of God in him? Because he should be spiritually dead too then. I mean, how would he understand that?
Oh, excuse me, you know, Satan rules in this world. He has been given that task by God himself. He rules in the churches. And so he's a personality. He can hear what we're talking about. It's not a secret from him any more than it's a secret from people who are under his authority. They also hear it. They don't want to believe it. They don't want to acknowledge it. They are in denial, or they're mocking it, or whatever. But nevertheless, they have heard that is the date, and so would Satan have heard that. There's no mystery about that any longer. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
How are you, Brother Campy? How are you tonight?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you, Brother Campy. I have learned so much from listening to you over the time. Now, my question to you, Brother Campy, I have two questions. The first question, that great big earthquake in Chile that just happened, the scientists have just proven that it's knocked its Earth off its axis and the day is shorter. How could you have possibly determined that your calculation is still accurate? That's my first question.
Oh, excuse me. Those things do not affect the calculation at all. Think, for example, of the tides. The ocean moves all over the place, and sometimes the tide can be 6 feet higher in an area, a whole huge area, and that means it's 6 feet lower in some other place, and it doesn't affect the calculation. And that's been going on for 13,000 years. So that has nothing to do with the timing of the length of a day and so on. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Yeah, good afternoon, Brother Campy. Yes, I'd just like to ask, do you know where in the Bible where it talks about the first shall be last and the last shall be first? I don't remember where that verse is located.
That is found in many places. I know of one place offhand. That's in Matthew, I think I remember accurately. In Matthew 19, let me see if I remember that one. And it's found in several places, but this is the only one that I remember. In Matthew 19, in verse 30, but many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And that is the principle that God is indicating, that those who have had the gospel for a long time, most of them are no longer first. That is, they are not saved, whereas there are many in this final harvest that are just hearing the gospel for the first time. They're the last ones to hear, and yet they are becoming the first. That is, they are the first would be indicating those who are truly children of God.
Yes, I grew up in the Catholic faith, and since, of course, have come out, but I'd just like to ask if apparently that I think I heard the mention of that the last, that like you were saying, the last is many of those who have never really heard the gospel, and where is it true that many of the saved,
well, you know,
the tiny portion of the church, members of churches that come out, is that just a small amount of those that will be saved?
Well, and, excuse me. Now, you know, what is happening is that in the Roman Catholic Church, in the Baptist Church, in the Methodist Church, in the Reformed Church, in the every church, no exception, Satan is ruling there now and is being worshipped. Therefore, those who are in those churches and are remaining there are guaranteed to go on their way into the day of judgment. Now, they believe they have been first because, and in a sense, they have been first because they've had the gospel for a long time. They've had access to the Bible a long time. And yet now, by their fact that they are worshiping Satan, they are indicating that they are not a child of God. They're not worshiping the Lord Jesus. They think they are, but they are not. Now, on the other hand, outside of the churches, as the gospel is going out, God is blessing or putting that word of God into the hearts of individuals who have never heard the Bible before. They're not worshiping Satan out there. They are, if God opens their eyes, they're worshiping Christ, and therefore they will be the first. They will be those who are children of God, and they are the ones that are being raptured at the end, along with the all those who have previously lived as a child of God and have died, and then their bodies are caught up as a living Bible. A living body, it's also being raptured. But those who have been first and now are last, they are not going up. They're not going to be caught up. They're going to end up under the wrath of God altogether. They're going to enter the day of judgment right along with the one that they've been worshiping, namely Satan. He too is going right into the day of judgment. But thank you. And that's a terrible, terrible thing I have just said. A horrible thing. It ought to frighten us no end. But that's what the Bible clearly teaches. And the more we study the Bible really carefully, we see that this is the way it is. And that's why it's so marvelous that even the people in the churches, if they'll only get out, come out from under that worshiping and cry to God for mercy, it's possible that they too still might be saved, just like those who are hearing the gospel for the first time and have never been a part of a church. They too, as they cry for mercy, have the hope, their great hope, that maybe they too will become saved. Because we do have the absolute assurance from the Bible that in this day when we're hasting so fast to the end, it is the day of salvation, but it's altogether outside of any congregation, any church at all that thinks they're the exception. They're deceiving themselves. There are no exceptions. They're all under the wrath of God right now. But thank you, and shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Good evening, Mr. Camping. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I have a quick question. I was listening to one of your Bible studies, and you said in the book of Daniel where it says that the end of the days, Daniel, it's in the book of Daniel that would be revealed. How come it wasn't in any of the other books of the Bible? How come it was only in Daniel?
Well, because that's what God has ordained. We don't disagree with what God has done. We read the Bible to discover what He has done. And then we finally find in Revelation, beginning in Revelation 5, where that book was, the seals begin to be taken off, so that by the time we get to the first verse of Revelation 8, all 7 seals are off. So now, whatever time in history that is speaking about, and it's the beginning of the Great Tribulation, this present 23-year period that is just ahead of the Day of Judgment, and now all of this information is tumbling out of the Bible, and it's absolutely astonishing what we are learning, and that had never been known before, because God had not opened that up yet until our day.
I have another question, one more question. I'll take it off the air. Would believers, like if I'm a believer and if I am saved, God saved me, and our families will say, will we see each other in heaven, the believers? Will we know each other on that day or no?
Well, the Bible says the former world is not remembered or come into mind. He says He creates new heavens and a new earth, and the former is not remembered. And I believe that means that we who are true believers will be caught up to be with Christ, and it's like we are the beginning of a brand new eternal experience, unrelated to anything that has happened here on earth. We won't even know we came from earth. I don't know what we'll know as to why we exist there. God will take care of that. But it is unrelated to this present existence, except those who will be there did come as true believers from this present existence. But the Bible insists it will not be remembered or come into mind. So I don't think we'll recognize anybody. I think we'll all be in heaven, and there we will. Well, I don't know. I mean, why speculate? It's going to be super, super, super wonderful. We don't have to know that kind of detail.
If you'd like to.
But shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Hello, Brother Campy. How are you tonight?
Very well, thank you.
Could you to the last caller? I'm not saved, Brother Campy, and I know I'm not saved. But can you tell me how much pain I'm going to be in on May 21st, 2011?
I have no knowledge at all about that. But I can tell you this, that if you know you're not saved, it doesn't mean you have no hope. There is the possibility that you still might become saved. You just cry out to God for mercy and walk very, very humbly, recognizing you deserve the wrath of God. You deserve the day of judgment, but maybe God will have mercy on you. And you just keep pleading with God and begging God right up until the end. And then what will happen if you do not become saved? We do know that people will be dying millions every day, and you may be dead the first day, and that's the end of your conscious existence. But you might live 2 days or 3 days or 9 days. But I don't know anything about that.
But, Brother Campy, I've done a lot of terrible things in my life, and they say I'm going to have gnashing of teeth.
But you see, God did not, there's something very wonderful that we know from the Bible. God did not come for good people. He came for sinners. And again, I go back to Christ hanging on the cross as he's demonstrating how he made payment for our sins. And there is that wicked thief that's on the cross next to him, who's being executed for his crimes. And he reviles Jesus. He is in rebellion against God altogether. And yet 2 hours later, or a little bit time later, that very same day, that same while hanging on that cross, and his life is ebbing away, he receives the assurance from Christ, today thou shalt be with me in paradise. That was effectively saying, I have saved you right at this end. And so don't worry how many sins you've committed. You just acknowledge that to God. You tell God all about it, and how sorry you are, and how you are so thankful that it's still the day of salvation. And could it be, even though you don't deserve it at all, that maybe he might save you, and there is that possibility. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Good evening, Brother Camping.
Yes.
My name is David, and it's always my pleasure to speak with you. I can't express how much your program has helped me. Brother Camping, the verse in the Bible regarding not being careful for anything. May I please ask you to help me interpret that, Brother Camping?
Or the word careful in that verse is an Old English word that we would translate as be anxious for nothing. In other words, the world gets very agonized, very frightened in their soul, and they may turn to drink or turn to pills or something in order to settle their fears. But when we're a child of God, we go to the Lord. We can pray to him again and again and again and again. Oh, Lord, you know the trouble I'm in. You know that I don't have any answers as to how to get out of this trouble. Oh, Lord, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. And I thank you. I thank you that you are there, and I can come into your throne room anytime to think of him remember, Christ is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and we can go instantly at any time, day or night, and again and again and again, crying to him for mercy. But we come in with no pride and no arrogancy. We come in broken, and oh Lord, I'm in trouble, and I have to admit that I've made a lot of contribution that is to get to my trouble. But oh Lord, could you have mercy on me? And that's the advantage, or that is the possibility of every one who calls upon God. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Yes, Brother Campy. I'd like to know if God and Satan, are they working together like in the book of Job?
Are God and Satan working together? Well, I'll tell you this, that Satan can't do anything without the allowance of God. God is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Right now we're surprised, absolutely surprised, to learn that God actually employs Satan beginning 21 years ago to rule in the churches and to rule over the world, so that with all of his sin, it makes the world even more sinful and prepares the church and the world for entering into Judgment Day. Now, God is not consulting with Satan or Satan with God. It's not like, shall we do this together? No. It simply means Satan thinks that he's won. He thinks that he's king now, and even though deep in his heart he knows that there is an end coming, but yet he's I'm sure, I think we can safely say he would sure like to think that he's going to be the final winner. But thank you for calling and sharing. And now in the book of Job, for example, in the book of Job, we find that Job and God and Satan work kind of together in the sense that God allowed Satan to do certain things to Job, but put limitations on it. He allowed that. And now if you want to call that them working together, well, I suppose that would be that kind of an illustration. But let's put it the other way. Satan can't do anything unless God allows it, and Satan's intention always is to destroy. So what happened in the book of Job was really just the characteristic of Job's position in the world. But shall we? Yes.
But I'm thinking with the coming of the rapture and all, that Satan is disgusted with his own creation that he's got down here, with making women into men and men into women and things that are not proper, even in his respect.
Well, Satan is the very essence of wickedness. He is in complete rebellion against God. Therefore, he would be rejoicing at any rebellion against God. He has no morals. He is the very essence of wickedness. He's called the son of perdition. He's on his way to judgment for all of his wickedness. And so we don't have to think about him at all as being abhorred by the wickedness, not a bit. He rejoices because the wickedness simply is a further rebellion against God, whom he is the big enemy of. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum. Oh my, we're going to have to.
Camping?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Camping, in Matthew 24, where it talks about there'll be earthquakes in diverse places. It says famines and pestilence. Can we look at that earthquake as judgment on the churches?
Let's hold on. We're going to have to pause for this message. We're living at a time when the world has just experienced a couple of very big earthquakes. The one in Haiti that destroyed about 220,000 people. A huge number of people dying, and in Chile where not so many died, but it was an enormously large earthquake. There are two big questions that is going through our minds, and the first one is that are these portenders of the fact that we're right near the end? And the answer is no. There's no evidence of any kind, none, that the incident of earthquakes or the character of the earthquake or anything else is any more than at any other time, any other year in history. Now, maybe in the next 14 months there might be an increase. The Bible does not speak about that kind of activity as being a portender of the end. It doesn't call for that. So I would rather expect that it won't happen. It'll be just about like it has been going. The second big question is, now why did it happen to Haiti? Why did it happen to Chile? Why didn't it happen to San Francisco or New York or Madrid or some other big city? Is that because God had was bringing a judgment against those people, those churches, those whoever, that they're more wicked than somebody else? And Christ gives us an illustration. In Luke 13, he talks about a tower that fell, and it must have been quite a big tower, a noteworthy tower in the city, the Tower of Siloam, and 18 people were killed. And immediately the question was raised, were those 18 upon whom the Tower of Siloam fell and slew them, think ye that they were sinners above all men that dwelt in Jerusalem? He's asking, that's the question that we ask. Or were those people in Haiti, were they more wicked than some other place in the world? Or in Chile, more wicked than some other place in the world? And he says, I tell you no. This is verse 5 of Luke 13. But except ye repent, ye shall all likewise perish. In other words, when these catastrophic events occur, like what happened in Haiti or Chile or any other, if they died of a tsunami or a huge volcano eruption or whatever, it is simply a reminder to the whole world that there is a judgment day coming, that someday the whole world is going to face death. And are you ready to meet God? In our day, we have especially the wonderful blessing of knowing that God is still saving a great many people. He has not been doing that throughout the church age. There's no evidence that he had been, but he is in our day. And there is evidence in the Bible that this is so. But on the other hand, so therefore, when an earthquake like this happens, we can think, oh, God is reminding all of us, are you ready to meet God, or are you going to go blindly and without any sense right into the day of judgment? But shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
How you doing, Brother Campion?
Yes, go ahead.
I have two questions. My first question is if Satan was never created, would man have still sinned?
Satan was not created as Satan. He was created as one of the angels. God created many, many angels at the beginning. And for some reason which God does not explain and we do not understand, about the time he created Adam and Eve also, which was also at the beginning, many of these angels headed up by Satan, who became the devil, who became what he's called the dragon, they rebelled against God. And there was that one-time rebellion, and those angels continued in their rebellion up to the present day, along with Satan. And no other angels did rebel. That's very mysterious. We don't understand that at all, but that did happen, and it all began at the beginning. We have evidence in the Bible that he was cursed by God for his rebellion at the same time that Adam and Eve, mankind, were cursed for their rebellion. And it was all it all happened at the same time.
Okay, second question. I know Satan don't look at everybody. I mean, Satan don't look at everybody as the way God look at everybody, right?
I'm sorry, Satan does what?
He don't look at everybody, every individual. You don't look at everybody the way God looks at everybody, right?
Oh, we don't know what Satan knows. He's an angel. He's not God. He's not everywhere present, for example. He doesn't know every human being. He's got a lot of angels that fell with him, which are his helpers. They're evil spirits, and they still are active in the world. But Satan is not equivalent to God in any sense at all, except that God allows him to rule, or gave him the task of ruling in the churches and in the world.
Is Satan trying to make the world like it's a heaven or something like that?
from what we know in the Bible, he is trying to destroy the work of Christ, and that's the very essence of Satan, is destruction. He wants to destroy. Now, ahead of that, we know from both Isaiah 14 as well as 2 Thessalonians 2 that he wants to be like God. He is the very essence of arrogant pride. And incidentally, that is one of the reasons, I suppose, that God warns and warns and warns and warns and warns. Watch out for pride, because that is going to get you into deep trouble. It certainly did get Satan into big trouble. But thank you for calling and sharing.
Hey, Brother Kemp.
Okay.
Excuse me?
How you doing?
Thank you. And what is your question?
Hey, I'm so glad to talk to you right now. My question is, brother, is that I'm just overwhelmed by the evil that is taking place on this earth as we live here. And my question is why? Why did everybody choose money and greed? And we live under our own government hurts us, and people just sit back and think terrorists are attacking us, and we're always under pressure and stress here. And the bottom line is I just don't know why it's going on.
Well, no, excuse me. Now, first of all, you must remember that man by nature is in disagreement with God's laws. He wants his own way. He thinks that he's smarter than God because God has given us pretty good minds, and yet they're only peanut minds compared with the infinite mind of God. But we think we're great. And we have learned that money can do many things. It can buy all kinds of nice things. And because we establish our own rules, we don't have to live moral, honest lives, do we? Why can't we do what we would like to do? And as long as we're not hurting anybody too badly, why not have it? And that's the lie that mankind lives with.
Gotcha. Brother Camping, one question. Now me, as a person, I love God. I basically was saved. He saved me from cancer. I had a brain tumor. And I believe in my heart that the Lord came down and saved me from that to be with my family and live. Because when I think of it, I get the goosebumps through my whole body. And ever since that day, 7 years ago, I basically believed fully in the Lord. And since my friend Nicky passed, and he passed the Bible down to me, my question is this. I see so many non-believers around me. I'm surrounded by them. But I keep forgetting my question because I'm so overwhelmed by being on the air. But my main question is this. I lost it, Father Camping, Brother Camping. I'll call back when I'm on another state of mind. But I'm a weak person when it comes to reading the Bible. Although I believe every single word you read out of the Bible and every word I hear of the Bible. And I don't believe in the churches, and I haven't for years. But I'm very lazy when it comes to reading the Bible because of my brain. I can't see, and I get blurred vision. But I want to learn more, and I've been calling your station and getting information. But help me out, brother.
The fact is that God in His mercy has given him radio programs like we have here on Family Radio. And just think of it, if you were living 100 years ago, there'd be no such a thing. What a fantastic blessing that every day you can hear Christian music, and every day you can hear Christian teaching without ever reading the Bible, although you are hearing the Bible read as you listen. You have a lot, we all have a lot to be thankful for. And we can never argue, that God is not really blessing us and blessing us and blessing us. And on top of that, just think of it. No matter how blurred your vision is or how slow your mind goes, you can cry to God every time, again and again and again, for His mercy and for His love. And and you can thank Him for the blessings that come into your life. Oh, I'll tell you, even if we can't see, we have enormous blessings that God provides. But shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum. Welcome to Open Forum.
Yes, hi, this is Camping.
Yes.
In Leviticus 11, they talk about the clean and unclean food in chapter 11, 1 through 8.
Leviticus chapter 11?
Yes, 1 through 8.
Let's look at that. Chapter 11, verse 1. There we read, And Jehovah spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the feasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are, these are the beasts, rather, which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. And then he explains that there are some of the animals that he calls clean animals, and you can eat those. And he defines which ones they are. They end up with being cows and steers and bulls and such things as lambs and goats. But you can't eat a donkey. You can't eat a lion. You can't eat a rattlesnake. And there's a lot of things that are unclean. And he says, if you eat of those unclean animals, then you are rebelling against God, because they're used as a picture of the fact that in this world there are true believers and non-true believers. The true believers are typified by the clean animals that are used for food as well as for sacrifice, and the unclean animals represent those who are in rebellion against God. Now, once Christ came and all these ceremonial laws were completed in Him, then and the gospel is to go to the whole world, and God dispensed with that law. Now we don't have to worry at all about whether the meat we eat is from a clean animal or an unclean animal. You can eat any kind of meat you wish.
Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to know. And I just also wanted to ask you one other thing about the Shroud of Turin. What is your take on that?
My take on that is that it's a big hoax. First of all, it's been a little piece of it was tested by carbon-14, and carbon-14 testing is very accurate back the first few thousand years. And it shows that it's about 1,000 or 1,200 years old. And secondly, it's a one-piece garment, and that enveloped the body of the individual. It was around as well as over the head, and yet the Bible is crystal clear that Christ was wrapped in a garment about His body, and He had another piece of garment or another piece of covering around His head, and so it doesn't meet the biblical definition at all, and it does not meet the time of when Christ went to the cross. It is absolutely a hoax. It has no truth in it at all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
How you doing, Brother Campy? I wanted to know about the 144,000. And I heard a lot of the stuff like only some people will be on earth, only some people will be in heaven. And I wanted to know your thoughts, and maybe if you can just back it up by some of the scriptures that you have there.
Well, only all of the true believers on May 21 who are living at that time without any exception at all will instantly be changed into a glorious, into an eternal, a brand new eternal body in which they'll live forevermore in heaven. And all those who had previously died as true believers, their bodies will be thrown out of the graves but not as dead bodies, to litter the ground as the unsaved bodies will be, but they will come out of the tombs as a new body that is eternal in character and will be caught up also to be with Christ in heaven. And but all those, and there will be literally billions of people who are convinced that they are saved because they followed all the rules of the church they belong to. Because they are listening to a do-it-yourself gospel plan, and because they're not obeying God, and the evidence being also that they are not leaving their churches as they're commanded to, and they're still believing that Christ is coming as a thief in the night. For all of them, sudden destruction is going to come upon them. They will be left behind. They will not be raptured. Even though if you ask them today, when Christ comes, are you going to be raptured? Oh, yes, I know I'm a child of God. I've been in the church for years and years, and I love the Lord, and I know I'm a child of God. And yet they are not, and because of what they are doing with the Bible is the evidence, and they're going to be left behind, and that'll be a horrible thing for them to swallow.
Do you recommend to have my own independent study, or to go with I know the Bible also says a lot about being with other Christians and helping each other out.
God does give us teachers, and if you can find teachers that are consistently true to the Word of God, and that's what we try to do here in Family Radio. Now, we are not an authority at all. We are not an authority. The Bible is the authority. But we have a lot of information that is right up to date with this whole matter of the day of judgment and the rapture and all of that, and you can get it free of charge, and it will simply direct you into the Bible so that you can check what you are reading in these free booklets or tracts that you receive from Family Radio, and you can read that information in the Bible, and it'll assist you greatly in learning a lot from the Bible that you could never find. When I think of the thousands and thousands of hours that I've spent studying the Bible, and I'm so grateful that might be a little bit of a help to somebody else. So that's why it has been written down in such a way that anybody can see how the conclusions were, how that was found in the Bible. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Hey, Camping. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Brother Camping. My question is about, you say the world is ending on the 21st of May of 2011.
Yes. Now, what is your question? I'm sorry. What is your question? We must have lost our caller. Shall we go to our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Yeah, Mr. Camping, have a good night. I hope you're having a good night. Radio.
I'm sorry. Could you speak up a little more? We're not able to hear you.
All right. How's this?
Yeah, let's try.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay. Well, I heard you mention about the shroud, and I just want to say that there's evidence that they found pollen on the shroud that only comes from Nazareth. Also, the carbon dating of the shroud was taken from a piece that was repaired 700 years ago. They've been trying to get another piece from the shroud, but they're unable to now because it's put away.
You still haven't solved the problem, and of course the Catholic Church is trying desperately to make that an artifact that they can call identified directly with the Lord Jesus. But
well,
the
why
Bible,
not? It's evidence of Christ's
crucifixion. The Bible made a big point that he was God, that Christ was wrapped, and that his headpiece was in another place. It was not one piece as the shroud is, and you can try, as a good Roman Catholic, try desperately to vindicate that belonged to Christ, but to me there's no evidence of that at all. And I would anyway, if you want to find truth, go to the Bible. Don't look at something like that, which is full of conjecture and guessing and hoping and so on. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum. Welcome to Open Forum.
Hi, Brother Camping. How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Can we go? My question's about Satan, knowing the time. Can we go to Matthew 8, verse 28 and 29?
Matthew 8, verse 28 and 29. There we read, "And when he was come to the other side into the country of the Gergesenes, there met him 2 possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, What have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time?" Now, what is your question?
Well, I'd like to compare that to a couple verses in Daniel chapter 2, verse 28 and 29.
Daniel chapter 2, verse 28 and 29. There we read 28 and 29. "As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter? And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation of the king, and thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart." Now, what is your question?
I'm sorry. That was Daniel chapter 2,
verse 28 and 29 and 30.
Right, King Nebuchadnezzar.
Or verse 28, "But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets and maketh known to the king of Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these." Now,
and 29?
"And then, as for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth secrets makes known to thee what shall come to pass." Now, there isn't any suggestion here at all about time. Well, Satan knows full well that there's an end coming. He knows that he, in fact, in another place, we read, in fact, in Matthew, was it? In at least someplace, it says, "Are you going to torment me before the time?" And he knows there's an end there, but there isn't any evidence anywhere in the Bible that he knew the day and the month and the year when Christ was going to come.
Okay. I have a question. I find the number 120 throughout the Bible. I was wondering what is the meaning of that number?
Well, if it has any spiritual meaning, it's 10 times 12. And 10 is complete, and 12 is fullness. These are the spiritual meanings of those two numbers, and it's signifying the complete fullness of whatever God has in view. For example, God gave Noah 120-year advance warning of the time of the flood. So that was the complete fullness of time that he had in order to build the ark, and that was also the complete fullness of time before all mankind would be destroyed at that time. That they wouldn't. That at the end of 120 years, the flood would come.
Now, the time to build the ark, would that be considered a tribulation period? No. There's no evidence that God is showing a tribulation period before the time of the flood. We just don't. The only evidence we have is that there were 6,000 plus 23 years up until the flood, but there's no account anywhere in the Bible that those 23 years were different than any other any other period. No, I meant the 120 years to build the ark.
Excuse me, we have to pause for this message. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, we read, "And Jehovah said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. And then right after that, it begins to talk about the fact of their wickedness, and that Noah began to build the ark. And so we must conclude that God here is doing two things. He's giving Noah the timeline that he has in front of him to build the ark. Secondly, he's giving the world of that day the timeline of how long they still have to live. And then the end is going to come, because when the ark was finished and then God said in 7 days the flood waters will come, and they did come. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Mr. Camping?
Yes.
I need to turn my radio down. Just a minute. Mr. Camping, I have 3 questions. They shouldn't be too long. The first one is Revelation chapter 22, verse 2.
Revelation chapter 22, verse 2.
Yeah.
In the midst of the street, now let's start with verse 1. He showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. That's a beautiful metaphorical way of speaking about the wondrous nature of God's gospel program.
Yeah.
In the midst of the street of it, on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. This is a recap of what God has done with planet Earth, that He has provided this wonderful salvation month after month, and actually year after year.
What about the month? I thought there wasn't any time in heaven. There's no time markers like months or days or anything. Why does it say month here?
Well, I don't know particularly why it says month, but I do know that it's a continuous process. Throughout the Bible, God deals with months. The Passover was in the first month. The Pentecost was in the third month. So
it's really not a time. It's not really something that's saying that there are months in heaven. It's just being used as that's just the way they talk about that particular subject.
It is a recap of how glorious God's gospel has been for this world.
Okay, now I have in 2 Kings chapter 22, verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 22, verse 1. There we read, Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jedidah, the daughter of Adiah of Boskath. Now, what is the question?
It says there that Josiah is 8 years old. How can somebody be a king at 8 years old? I mean, that sounds like a dumb question, but I've always wondered that. Why? How can an 8-year-old be a king?
Well, because, if you read the First and Second Kings and First and Second Chronicles,
I've read
you find that there were many, many kings over a period of several hundred years, but the king's risk of living to a ripe old age was very, very difficult.
Okay.
Because, first of all, if they went to battle, it was expected that the king would be out there fighting. In fact, Josiah was killed at the age of 39 as he was at war with Egypt, and so it was not uncommon at all that a king would become king, and then he would immediately, if he take his oldest son and make him a co-regent with him, so that the purpose of this is to maintain the dynasty, so that if he got killed in battle or from disease or whatever, there would be no arguing about who now is to get the throne. It would automatically stay with his dynasty, with his family, because his son, although still just a young son, was already crowned king.
Okay, I guess I understand. Then one more I have in 1 Samuel chapter 31.
1
Samuel chapter 31, verse 12 and 13. The last two verses of that chapter.
1 Samuel chapter 31, verse 12 and 13. All the valiant men arose and went all night and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan and came to Jabesh and burnt them there. And they took their bones and buried them under a tree at Jabesh and fasted 7 days. Now,
is that cremation?
Well, yeah, that was cremation, but it was also to some degree it was. Remember, bones, and we don't know what the situation of these bodies, but it was a kindness that they buried what was left of them, the bones of what was left of this family, because not to be buried, to be left out on the open, to be something for the dogs to feed on and the vultures to feed on and the worms to feed on, was showing that person was really cursed of God. And that exactly is what is going to happen on the first day of the Day of Judgment, that all the bodies that are whatever's left of the unsaved are going to be thrown out and desecrated in this way to demonstrate how they have become a curse to God. But thank you. The matter of cremation doesn't really enter into this because we don't know whether this. I can just say it this way: as I study the Bible more and more, I don't really find that that's really an issue. As we have been taught in the churches that we'd like to avoid cremation and have burial, but I don't think that's the big issue. The big issue is, are you a child of God? But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Yes, hi, Mr. Campson. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, thank you for this wonderful radio station and program. But my question is that I read the King James Bible, and I actually wanted to know what you think if I have the CDs of the whole Bible and I listen to them, and if I didn't read the Bible, if the CDs would be the same.
Well,
if I listen to them.
I don't think there are very many people in the world who have read the whole Bible carefully. My guess is because if you look at the opening chapters of First Chronicles, the first 8 or 10 chapters, they are very difficult names going on and on and on and on. And I really wonder when people say, well, you know, I read the Bible 5 times in my life. I wonder if they read word by word through First Chronicles. Now, I guess I'm kind of nasty in my thinking there, but I'll tell you, it's quite a difficult activity to read every word in the whole Bible. But that's not the test of anything. The test of it is, how do I regard the Bible? Is that really the Word of God? Do I read what I can have a little bit of understanding? Do I pray for greater understanding? There are many chapters I might read, and I can read them and say, I just can't find any blessing in this. But then keep reading, and maybe it's the next chapter that there's a verse there that's going to be especially important for you. And that's the way we are to regard the Bible.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that I have the whole Bible on CDs, so I can listen to the whole Bible. I have about 60 CDs that have the whole King James Bible on it.
Well, yes, you know, we read the whole Bible on family radio over a long period of time, of course, because it's the Bible is a fairly big book. But if we're listening, it can be a blessing. But again, it'll be the same as reading with your eyes, looking at the Bible. There will be times when you're hearing it, and I hear him read that chapter, but I can't get anything out of it at all. Well, that's okay. Go on to the next chapter and the next chapter, and it's still a blessing to read anything and everything in the Bible.
Okay, and I have another question. My other question is, how many times does God test you? Is there with the testing of if you're going to be His elect?
Oh, there's no way we can know. There's not a certain number of times. In our day, for example, during this time of great tribulation, God is testing all the believers, those who claim to be believers, with many, many, many tests. And in the churches, they're failing them left and right. They're failing those tests. That's why they remain in the churches. But then, for example, He can send an illness into our life as a test. Now, are you going to complain against God? And how, is this going to cause you to walk more humbly before God? Is this going to cause you to pray more and more for help from Him? Serious illness, serious setbacks in our life can be a real test. And how many of them there are? Well, it's different for every individual.
Right.
But thank you for calling and sharing. And
thank you very much.
Thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Gambin. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead with your call.
Quick question. The Bible tells us that by one man sin entered into the world. And therefore, in the book of, I believe, Romans also, that by one man, death, grace came to all the world. My question is, I noticed that on time to time you tell people that God only will save those that He wants. What type of God are we serving? That sin ripped the whole entire earth off. Me and you were not there. Now Christ is going to come and die only for those that He wants, and not for the rest of the world.
Well, now, where do you read, by one man grace came upon all men? And if there is such a verse, I don't recall that there is that's quite like that, but you have to remember the word all is a word that has to be understood in the context of the whole Bible. For example, and this is very close to what you're talking about, in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 22, I believe it is, God says, in Adam we all sin. In Adam, I'm going to find it. I haven't read it for a little while, and so I might be misquoting it. For as in Adam all sin. Now that word all, as we study that in the matter of sin entering the world, we know that word all includes every single human being, no exceptions. Everything in the Bible points to that. But then that verse goes on, same sentence. For as in Adam all sin, even so in Christ shall all, same word all, be made alive. Well, now we search the Bible there. Does that mean that everybody is going to have eternal life? And the answer is absolutely not. There's only a remnant that are going to be caught up to heaven, and the rest will be left here in the day of judgment. And so that word all has to be understood also by the context of the Bible, so that we know it's saying, so in Christ shall all that God planned to save and did save, they will be made alive. But that word all is not including everybody in the whole world as the first word all does. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome. Welcome to Open Forum.
Yeah, I've got a question. Did I hear it right when you said that God blessed Family Radio because of the Internet?
Because of what? Because of
I think God told you. You said that God told everybody that the Internet was, but Family Radio was blessed by having the Internet.
Well, all I can say is this, that Family Radio is made up of ordinary people. We have no geniuses with us at all. We are not that smart either. We have one passion, and that is we want to trust the Bible implicitly, and we want to try to share the words of the Bible, the teachings of the Bible with the whole world. And we started out 50 years ago with just buying one station without any idea that would ever go any further than that. But through the years, God has opened a door here and opened a door there. And so today we're able to broadcast all over the world and for many, many hours and to many places 24 hours a day. And we're able to reach places where other ministries have not been able to. And why is this? Because we were so smart? Absolutely not. Because we're so deserving? Absolutely not. Why? Why? The only answer we can come up with, there's only one answer. This is God's ministry, and He is doing with it what He wishes to do with it. And we can't take any credit at all. We just have to, and if God wants to be finished with this ministry, well, fine. Then He's finished with it. But so far, we're still going for more and more, getting more languages and more radio programs all over the world, so that people can hear this. And it's all God's doing, because there's no human being working for Family Radio that is smart enough for all of this. I certainly am not. But so it's got to be as a blessing from God. And so thank you, and shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum. Welcome to Open Forum.
Hello? Oh, I'm sorry. I had to turn my radio down. You can hear me? How you doing, Brother Ken?
Yes, what is your question?
Yes, my question is, I'm wondering, like, just a lot of, you said that the church age is over and that May 21st next year is Judgment Day and the rapture simultaneously is going to happen, right? So my question is, I'm wondering, like I don't go to church no more because I left last year because something that happened in church anyway, you know. I don't want to be in there. But there was a few people that I know, a few associates that I talked to that in the past done wrong stuff to me, like bad things, and they go to church, for example, and they still going. I believe what you're saying about next year, May 21st, is Judgment Day rapture. But me, myself, I'm praying for myself to be raptured up with God and caught up. But even though I'm praying at the same time that some of my, people who hate me and did bad things to me in the past.
Excuse me. No, I don't know what's happening in the lives of any individual, and I'm not looking at other individuals trying to figure out where they stand with God. There might be someone still in the church and who, before we get to May 21, their eyes will be, God will cause them to leave the church and be in a situation where they can become saved, because it is the day of salvation that could happen. Although dominantly we know that will not happen, but I don't know to whom or what. But we do know that the churches are continuing without responding to the truths of the Bible, and we know that they are still following a lot of doctrines that are altogether contrary to the Word of God, which makes them look very, very susceptible to entering into the day of judgment, and that the evidence of the Bible is that is going to happen. But it's not for me to look at any individual, and all I know is that I got to be sure that I am walking humbly before God, and that I am trying to do the will of God, because I don't deserve anything either any more than anybody else, and God has told us two things that if we're a true believer. Number one, we are to be praying for our loved ones and others who are not saved, those in the churches. We can be beseeching the Lord and begging the Lord that some of them might become saved before it's too late. And secondly, we want to make sure that we ourselves are walking very, very humbly. And the other thing, that we are as faithfully as possible trying to tell the whole world that the day of judgment is almost here, because that is the task God has assigned to the true believers, to be watchmen. And when they see the enemy coming, to announce to the city, and the city is the whole world, that enemy Christ is coming. He's the enemy of all the unsaved. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.
Yes. Can you go to Mark 38 to 41?
Mark 28.
No, 38.
Mark 38?
No, 9. I'm sorry. Chapter 9.
Mark chapter 9, verse 38.
Through 40.
Okay, let's look at that. Mark 9, verse 38. And John answered him, saying, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and he followed not us, and we forbade him, because he followed not us. But Jesus said, Forbid him not, for there is no man which shall do a miracle in my name that can lightly speak evil of me. For he that is not against us is on our part. Now, what is your question?
I don't know. I'm having a tough time trying to figure out
how your interpretation of the Bible is right and everybody else is wrong. Doesn't this say that people that do that? I'm sorry. I'm just frustrated.
Well, the fact is, I'm not the test of whether it's true or not. The Bible is the test.
Well, yeah,
and so,
but you're interpreting the Bible.
Excuse me. As we teach here on Family Radio, we constantly show why we believe this or why we believe that. Now, for example, in all the churches, they have a what they call a hermeneutic, and that is a method of understanding the Bible that is contrary to the Bible itself. The Bible teaches that Christ spoke in parables, and without a parable he did not speak. And the hermeneutic of the churches is, oh, well, yes, if it absolutely says that this is a parable, we have to understand that. But if it doesn't say that, then we just take it as it is. It's a historical event, and there it is. And that's what we are to understand. They are violating a fundamental principle of the Bible. And so, of course, those churches will never, never, never agree with what we are teaching, because we are teaching from entirely a different vantage point. Now, on the other hand, there are people who do understand that Christ spoke in parables, and if they hear us teaching something what they believe is incorrect, we have the wonderful privilege of the open forum that people can call and say, you say so-and-so, but look at this verse here. And if that verse shows that we're teaching something incorrectly, oh my, I can't be thankful enough for that person showing us that, because all I care about is truth, not the idea that I have a pride that I'm trying to keep track of or whatever. I've said many times I've had to learn this, and I teach that now today differently than I did 20 or 30 years ago. And so it's the aim of teaching is to be as faithful as possible to the Word of God. And ultimately, the Bible doesn't talk out of both sides of its mouth. There's truth. There's only one truth, and we have to constantly work at it to find what that truth is. And the more harmony that we find between all the things that we're teaching, the more we can be certain that we have found the truth. But thank you for calling and sharing. And shall we take our next call, please?
Yeah.
Welcome to Open Forum.
Yes, hi, Brother Camping.
I'm sorry?
Hi, I just have a quick question, and it's regarding the children in the churches. I know I've heard you talk about the children and what's going to happen with the children, but as far as the children that are still in the churches, how they don't have a choice whether they want to be there or not because they have to go with their parents. Does God address that problem in the Bible? And I have another quick question if there's time.
Well, God uses what happened in Judah in the Old Testament, and as they were destroyed, and they were a picture of the churches. Oh my, we're not going to have time to answer that, but please read Lamentations chapter 2, verses 12, or chapter 2, verses 11 through 13, and
okay.
That'll help you. And
Thank
shall
you.
we? Anyway, I have to say good night.